was getting cold. I've been fundraising for 2 weeks straight, 20 hours a day. Numb, chanting, living in a dream. Hi, want to buy flowers? It's for a Christian youth group.
Saw you at there.
What for? These guys are everywhere for Christian youth group.
Well, just go home and go.
Christian youth group. Want to buy flowers?
There he is.
What about the van?
I don't see his friends anywhere.
Let's go then.
Hey, you guys want to buy a flower?
No.
It's for a good cause, a Christian youth work.
Those are nice flowers. Yeah, I forgot my wallet. It's over in the truck. Okay. Come on,
Yeah, I'll go this way with us. Okay, take it easy. Just take it easy. It'll be okay.
Heavenly Father! Oh, Heavenly Father! Protect me, Heavenly Father!
Please don't hurt him.
This is an order of conservatorship.
It's a violation of my rights.
As your mother's attorney and officer of the court, I am legally empowered to serve it.
Just want to
And for the next 30 days, you will be in the custody of your mother.
This is the only way your father and I could feel sure you...
You're not my parents. Reverend Moon is my true father.
Please try to understand.
Smash Satan from this woman.
We just...
Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Smash
We
Satan
know
from
you've
this
been
woman.
under tremendous
Glory to heaven,
pressure.
peace on earth. Smash Satan from this woman.
Yes, we
Glory to
just
heaven,
want
peace
you
on
to
earth.
be
Smash Satan
human
from this
again.
woman. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Smash Satan from this woman.
Chris, you don't understand. There's a lot of things that
I
you don't...
can't believe this, Mike. I can't believe you've done this. You betrayed me.
Chris, let me tell you why I left.
I want to see my lawyer.
You're under court order. It's already been through the courts.
I want out of here, Mike. When can I get out of here?
Chris,
Who are you?
my name's Judy Powell.
Oh.
Look, I know you've heard bad things about deprogramming.
You mean faith breaking?
Not faith breaking.
Faith breakers.
Mike and I feel that we were programmed in the church. Brainwashing is a very subtle process. You don't
Any
understand.
brainwashing going on here. It's what you do.
Why don't you just sit down and listen to what we have to say about what's going on in the church?
Chris, they lied to us. They lied to us from the very beginning.
The very beginning. San Francisco. I was traveling. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. Just taking some time to explore new places, meet different kinds of people. I'd finished school and was ready for some adventure.
You like this music?
Yeah.
I'm Annie.
Oh, Chris.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Midwest.
Oh.
Shows, huh? Yeah, I'm from Illinois. I just finished school out there, and now it's me in the big world.
Where are you staying?
At the Y, right? Well, right now.
Yeah.
How about you?
Oh, I live here in the city, in a house with a few other people. They're really nice. We have big dinners every night. We do community work, too. We call ourselves the Creative Community Project.
Oh, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. You know, you seem like a really nice person. We're having a special dinner tonight. Would you like to come over?
Well,
There'll be a lot of good food and music. Oh, we're going to have slides of the farm, too. Look, let me give you my address and phone number. And if you have trouble finding us, just give me a call and I'll tell you how to get there. But otherwise, take the 19 Colt up here to Wood.
Hello, Mom. It's Chris.
Chris. Walter, it's Chris. Chris, where are you?
I'm in San Francisco. Delivered the car to the owner yesterday.
Chris, did you make it to San Francisco?
I'm calling from the Golden Gate Bridge, Dad. How are you?
When are you coming home?
I'm not sure, Dad. I met some nice people last night, some really great people. I had dinner with them. In fact, I'm going up to spend some time in their farm this weekend to check it out.
I have been wondering.
It seemed like a good idea. I thought I'd spend a few days there and be on my way.
I just couldn't find people so friendly. I know I will meet. My heart's pouring open. Please take it for keys. All the lands that I love, all the seas that I've sailed, miles and years go by me. It's been such a lonely trip.
Thank you, Rachel. Now, I've got an incredible surprise for you this morning. You want a surprise? Yeah! And it's my privilege and honor to introduce Gary Sharp. Is everybody happy? Yeah! This happy? No! This happy? No! This happy? Yeah!
It seemed a little crazy to me, but fun. After all, it was only for a weekend.
You know, when I look into your eyes, I really see the love that's deep in the heart of every person. You know, I'd like to try a little experiment. Would you like a little experiment? Yeah! I know that all of you wouldn't be here this weekend unless you had some really serious opinions about the purpose of your life. Why is there conflict in the world? Where do I go with my life? Those kinds of questions. It's a little bit like buying furniture. You know, if you've had some living room furniture and you've had it for many years and it's very comfortable, but something isn't quite right. So what you have to do is take the old furniture and put it across the hall into another room, and then when you bring in the new furniture, it feels just right. And in a sense, that's what I'm inviting you to do this weekend. Take all your old opinions, all your ideas, and bundle them up in a big bag and put them over into a different room in your mind. That's our experiment. If we focus on the things that hold us together instead of the things that keep us apart, this experiment can be an amazing experience of love for each of us, within us and among us. And you know what's great about it? Furniture costs a lot of money. Ideas are free.
So I decided to let go, see what they had to offer. Not be so critical for once.
I found that in my experience, when I'm able to set aside my own opinions about things, I'm open to a viewpoint so much higher than my own small-mindedness. I'm wondering how you all felt about that. Lynn.
Well, I used to fight with my mother all the time. I was so stuck in my roles that I just couldn't let go of my point of view, and I never gave her a chance. And she got so used to not listening to me that, well, I can't tell her now about this group and about the joy and the purpose it's given my life.
Anyone else?
Chris, why don't you tell me?
No, I don't.
Chris, how about you?
Well, I can really appreciate the kind of positive energy and support you people give each other. Yeah, I guess I've been into a lot of negativity.
You know, that speaks for me too, Chris. I used to be so negative, but I've really found a purpose here. I've really found love.
Chris, why do you think it was so important for them to push your own opinions aside? They make you feel guilty for having different feelings and for being an independent individual person. When you suppress all those feelings, you start losing touch with reality, with yourself.
I've not lost touch.
Well, Chris, you've lost the ability to think critically. You're not really feeling. You're not really thinking for yourself.
Well, how do you feel? We were friends. What's happened to that?
The mission is more important. You turned your back on God. Mike, who had been my brother, who had joined with me. He was the only person I could really talk to at the beginning. We'd gone through a lot of changes together there. Now to find him so deep in Satan's world trying to lure me back. Satan works through the ones you love.
wake up.
Oh, let him go to the bathroom.
Did you check it out?
There's nothing in there. There's no razor blades. There's nothing. What can I do? Stuff his head down the toilet?
Chris? Chris, you in there?
Nice evening for a walk, isn't it? All right, kid. Let's go inside.
Morning, Chris. Did you sleep all right? Well, it's okay to sleep in.
Why did you come in here?
I thought it would be nice if you and I had breakfast together this morning.
Satan works for the ones you love.
This lecture we're going to talk about, why is there so much pain in the world? Why is there so much suffering? Why is the world so sad? If it really is possible for love to really change things, why has there been so much conflict among people? Why for thousands of years have there been parents beating their own children? Husbands and wives turning in anger against one another, deliberately hurting each other, families breaking up, weapons being fired in anger and hatred against other human beings. Why? Okay, we've learned today that if we look into the Bible, in Genesis 2 and 3, we see the story of the first human ancestors. And if we look carefully at that story, we see evidence that something happened at the beginning of human history that had a terrible effect upon man's ability to love. I think we can see that what's really needed, since the breakdown of love in the first human ancestors, what's really needed is a true standard of love that can pass on from generation to generation. Then there need be no conflict, only love.
Smash with love! Smash with love! Smash with love! Love conquers all! Love conquers all! Smash with love! 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 Be shooter! Be shooter! Smash with love! 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 Hey, hey, hey! Glory, glory, hallelujah! Glory, glory, hallelujah! Glory, glory, hallelujah! His truth is marching on!
I was, doing a lot of thinking today about how all of us have come from different places and situations. And I want to share a little bit about how I came to be here. A few years ago, I was in college, and I wanted very much to devote my life to a higher purpose, to really get involved. So I marched in every conceivable demonstration against the war in Vietnam, the bombing in Cambodia. And one day, I went to this rally. And what I found there was that in a group that wanted to be unified, everybody was bickering and had their own ideas and wanted to put their own ideas out front, not caring about anybody else, really. And so I found that what I thought was a high purpose was really, for me, very empty. So I went to a place I know about up in the mountains where it's very quiet, and I tried very much to listen to my heart. And what I heard was that what is really important is to be involved with people, to make connections with your brothers and sisters. And I came back to San Francisco, and the very first day I was there, I ran into this group of people. And I found that their hearts were big enough to contain all of my uncertainties. And so, what I hope is that all of you can find a place here where your hearts can really grow and where you can really learn to love.
Thank you, Joshua. Now, if we'll all stand up for one last song before we say goodnight. I'll never leave you anymore, for I have found in your bright eyes.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for everything that's made my life rich again. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for showing me the truth. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for bringing me into your garden.
Well, it's been a great weekend. It's been an exciting weekend. And I'm just so delighted that there's just been so much enthusiasm on the part of all the new guests who are here. I'd like to ask Joshua first. Would you give us your report on your group?
Oh, there's one, Chris Carlson. Heavenly Father wants him so much.
Oh, who's a spiritual parent?
Annie.
Is she the right person?
Well, he just broke up with his girlfriend of 4 years, and Annie's really creating oneness with him.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the good people that you've brought here today with us. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the new friends that you've found.
Chris?
Thank you, Heavenly Father.
Chris, where are you going? I'm just going for a walk, Tom. Why don't you just stay here and get some sleep? Tomorrow's gonna be a busy day. I just want to go for a walk, be alone for a while. I really don't think you should. Why don't you just come back to bed? You'll feel better when you get some sleep. Okay? Come on back to bed, okay? Come on. Come on.
Do you have any problems?
There's one brother I'm not sure of. Someone may have told him about Father.
Is he affecting other people?
I've seen him talking with other new people.
Joshua, I told you no first weekers talking to first weekers. Now, we can't have that. We can't afford it.
Mr. Sharp, it's almost midnight. Should we do our chanting now?
Yes. Let's really move spirit world. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Bring one righteous, capable, conscientious person to training session today. All new people move in. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Bring one righteous, capable, conscientious person to training session today. All new people move in. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Smash Satan, sinners, dull, and Daphne Green. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Make a millionaire. Make our monetary goal. Glory to heaven, peace on earth. Bring one righteous, capable, conscientious person to training session today. All new people move in.
Good morning, everybody. Let's shake out those sleep spirits. When you get charged with purpose, you find that you only need about 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. Good. Let's do the hokey pokey. Yeah! You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out.
Hey, Mike, I saw something last night, man. It was real. I gotta talk to you.
Do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about.
Mike, I saw something last night, man. It was really.
You put your brothers out, you put your brothers in.
Mike, it was really something.
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Real good. Okay, let's reach up and grab a piece of sky. That's it.
Mike, what was going on last night?
And over.
Over at the leader's cabin. They were doing this really crazy chant.
Hold it there.
I don't know. We went to bed so late I was out like a light.
All right. Now we have a great stretch for the back. Everybody find a partner about your size.
Chris, there's a brother over here who needs a partner. Could you help him out?
Tom, you want to demonstrate with me? Good. Turn back to back. And one brother or sister, bend down a little bit and pick your partner up on your back.
You know, when I first met you on the wharf, I could tell there was something really special about you. I said to myself, such a spiritual person belongs in the family.
I'm really flattered.
Well, no, really, Chris, I mean it. There's a special quality in you. It shows in your eyes. I just feel so much love for you.
I really think you're beautiful.
How would you feel about staying with us for a while? We have a 7-day workshop starting tomorrow. You know, Mr. Scharf picked you out for a real spiritual person. I know he'd be disappointed if you left. And that goes for me, too.
I'm really flattered by your interest, but I planned on only staying the weekend.
Do you really have anything to go back to?
I just need some time.
It's not just for your sake, Chris. We need people like you.
Well, there's some things I have some reservations about. Like last night, the chanting at the leaders' meeting. I mean, I know I was supposed to be in bed, but what were those people doing?
Things seemed strange to me, too, when I first came here. But when I stayed for the first week, it all became clear. We should become like little children, Chris, and try to see the world through open eyes.
Well, I don't know.
See what you feel after the lecture today.
So if we look at history, we can see an extraordinary plan that God is following to bring the salvation of mankind. We can see periods that have been paralleled, and by understanding God's code, we can see what God's rhythm is. He's teaching us when to be ready. We look here, we see from Abraham to Jesus, a period of 1930 years. And that period...
It seemed pretty far-fetched, but I couldn't help listening to him. He was so sincere, so convinced.
Of the Lord of the Second Advent. Now, where could this man come from? It's written in the Bible, as the lightning flashes from the east to the west, so will it be in the day of the coming of the Son of Man. From the east to the west. That means that the Messiah must come from the peak edge of the east. When we look to the east, we see 3 cultures that have substantial traditions. This is China and Japan and Korea. And there is no Christian foundation in Japan or in China, so it must be Korea. So
Really?
what do we
I don't
learn?
think so.
That the Messiah must come again. He must come between 1917 and 1930, and he must come from Korea. And I'd like to ask all of you now to please stay with us a few days longer, and perhaps by following the patterns that God has set out for us, we can find that man.
Annie, could I talk to you?
Sure, Chris.
I'm sorry to bother you.
Well, it's no bother.
Annie, it's just that I've decided to stay for the week. I wanted to tell you first.
Oh, that's fantastic. Everybody, Chris has decided to stay. He's decided to stay.
So yes, we do. We don't love anyone as much as you. When you're not with us, we're blue. Oh, Chris, we love you. Yes, we do. Choo, choo, choo.
Chris, I know you feel like Annie really loved you and cared about you. She probably told you that you were incredibly spiritual and that you had great potential. But Chris, that's what they say to all the new people. It's just a technique. Look, you probably use the same thing on new people yourself.
We at least are learning how to love unconditionally, which is more than I can say for you.
How long were you in the church before you heard that Reverend Moon was associated with it?
Of course they couldn't tell us at first.
Look, Chris.
There's so much misunderstanding and negativity about the church. But I'm grateful that they protected me.
You're grateful that they deceived you? What kind of Messiah needs to be hidden?
Chris, they didn't even tell you who they were. I mean, what did they say? Creative Community Project, Project Volunteer, CARP? I mean, they even deny that they're religious sometimes.
Chris, they lied to you. There's no way you could make an informed decision.
They had a higher truth than I did then. And they did what was best for me.
So the ends justify the means. Can't you hear what you're saying? It's okay to lie. Hello, brothers and sisters. It's really a special honor and privilege to have you here tonight, especially Chris and Mike and Lynn. and the new people who've been with us for a few weeks now who are really becoming part of our family. Tonight, I'd like to talk about Reverend Moon. Reverend Moon was born in Korea in 1920. And when he was 16 years old, he had a vision of Jesus. And Jesus called upon him to help him complete the mission that God had given Jesus 2,000 years ago. And for 9 years, Reverend Moon fought in the spirit world to understand the truth that could help him accomplish this mission. And finally, God said to Reverend Moon, "Yes, you are my son."
I can't believe it. You people are Moonies? Why didn't you tell me?
It was too early, Chris. You wouldn't have understood.
You tricked me.
No, please try to understand.
Understand what?
Everything's been okay with you up till now, hasn't it? It's only the name Moon that puts you off. Think about why that is. He's been persecuted by the press because they're scared of him. They don't want to see the world changed.
Why didn't you tell me?
You weren't prepared to hear it.
Oh. What gives you the right to decide what I should and shouldn't know? Suppose there are other things I'm not prepared to hear? Well, I'm leaving tonight.
Chris, what about the principles we've talked about? They've been meaningful to you, haven't they?
I've been here for 3 weeks. I didn't know you people are Moonies.
Well, maybe we made a mistake about you. We thought you were open enough to see the truth for itself.
I need to call my parents and talk to them.
You know what they'll say. You have to make this decision by yourself.
I don't know what to think.
Please try to understand, Chris. Maybe we were being overcautious, but we didn't want to risk losing you. In the press, they've labeled us as mindless fanatics. But you haven't found that, have you?
I don't know. I just gotta get away and think.
People who leave have a hard time coming back. The world out there changes things. You can understand that.
Sure.
You're on the threshold of paradise, Chris. Don't turn back now. It would be such a loss if you decided to leave.
I just feel so empty.
We'll never leave you, Chris.
And so I stayed.
Poet love! Poet love!
Days seemed to go by so quickly. There was never time to stop and think about the world outside.
And jumping jacks. 1, 2, 3.
Smash with love! Smash with love! Smash with
Whenever a
love!
man comes along who is really capable, really serious to change the world, he is always persecuted.
My old life seems so far away, unreal. There seemed to be so much love and hope there, people trying to build an ideal world. The strangeness of it all seemed to fade away, and I found myself letting go of my old ways of thinking. I wanted so much to be a part of the group, to make my own contribution.
Chris, we have a bunch of new people coming up this weekend. Would you like to help out?
Yeah,
Do you think you could take care of a guest?
sure. What do I have to do?
Just make someone feel really loved and needed.
Cindy, you were saying something about your boyfriend?
He just doesn't seem to be understanding what I am going through, you know?
It's so hard when people really don't know how to care for each other in the right way. You were living together, right?
Well, sort of. I mean, I still had my own place and everything. I just would go over there a lot.
But you did have a physical relationship with him.
Yeah, well, it was a lot more than that, too.
Oh, well, I understand that, but there was a lot of pain in my relationship with my girlfriend. And I've learned since I've been here that it's best to live as brother and sister first, like we all do together here. There's a standard of love in your heart that your concepts won't let you see. And you have to open your heart to it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Great.
Is everybody happy? Yeah! This happy? No! This happy? No! This happy? Yeah! That's fantastic. It's just so good to have all of you here today. You know, when I look into your eyes, I really see the love that's deep in the heart of every person.
A victory for one is a victory for all. Choo-choo, 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 yeah, pow!
Annie, where are you going?
Back in the house?
Could I talk to you sometime?
Well, maybe there'll be some time when I get back.
You're leaving?
Being up here's a nice vacation, but there's Father's work to do.
Well, where are you going?
First back to Berkeley and then out on MFT.
MFT, what's that?
Mobile fundraising teams. We travel around the country fundraising for the family.
So then you'll be gone a long time.
That was the last time I ever saw Annie. She wasn't even going to say goodbye. I missed her.
Josh? Josh?
Hi, Chris.
Hi. I've been up here a long time now, and I'd like to go down to the city and work like the regular members.
That's great, Chris. You know, I think Heavenly Father has great plans for you.
I know I could witness. I'm not so sure about fundraising, but I could learn. I've really been reborn here, Josh.
You never even made a conscious decision to stay. I mean, you went up there for a weekend and they said, just stay for 7 days, Chris. Just stay for 21 days. And then they say 40 days or 3 months or 3 years. I mean, without realizing it, Chris, you become a member. You know, a lot of people give them all their money before they even know what they're involved with.
Chris, you know where all the money's going? Moon's buying up real estate all over the country. He's got the New Yorker Hotel, the Columbia Club, the Tiffany Building. He's buying fisheries. He's got the newspaper, the News World. In Korea, he's got the titanium factory, the munitions factory, the ginseng tea factory. Not to mention the gifts he gets, the furs, the jewels, the cars.
It would be best if Father controlled the whole world.
And that munitions factory makes parts for M16 rifles, Chris. Think about that.
Heavenly Father, please bless this food that it may give us strength for our day of fundraising. And that our efforts may be pure as we reach out to your children to raise money to establish the heavenly kingdom. In true parents' name, amen.
Amen.
Let's talk about our goals for today. Why don't we shoot for 2,000 as a group? We can really build the heavenly kingdom. We can move the spirit world with our energy. And remember, make people happy. Fill them with joy.
Oh, good day, good day. Could you give a donation for our Christian youth work? We're selling flowers for children, for church work.
Son buenos.
As a donation?
Gracias.
A donation for our Christian...
Excuse me, we're trying to raise money for a Christian youth organization. Would you like to buy
Well,
flowers?
I'm really in a hurry.
They're only $1.
No, I
Well,
don't
it
want
won't take
any.
long at all.
Listen,
If you could just help out real quickly.
No, I don't want any.
It's for needy
I'm late.
children.
It's for a daycare center.
No,
We're trying to raise money.
It's for a drug rehabilitation center.
How much are they?
$1 a piece.
That's stiff, isn't it?
It's for a good cause.
We're raising funds for an orphanage.
I'm from a Christian youth organization. Would you like to buy some?
No, I don't want any flowers.
Are you a Mooney?
Well, I've studied some of Reverend Moon's teachings, but that's all.
Well, then you're a Mooney.
I'm from the Crippled Children's Association. Would you like to buy a flower?
Sure.
We're trying to raise money for a daycare center.
Excuse me, young man. You're standing in my way.
Hi, would you like to buy a flower?
What else you peddling?
I'm from a Christian youth organization, and we're selling flowers for a very good cause.
It's such a sad situation. It's such a hard knocks education. Like a fairy tale with a moral at the end of the rainbow.
Would you like to buy some flowers?
What for?
It's for a Christian youth group.
Is that like
summer camp?
Maybe on another pretty anyway. Let's get one. Definitely the pink.
That looks really good. They're $1 a piece. Yeah.
Here, darling.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to buy a flower? Wouldn't that red one look really nice? Yeah. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Would you want one for your girlfriend?
Hey, brother. Hop on in. So how'd you do?
Here, $211. It's not so bad after all. You know, it was that last bar with all those men. I usually do better with women. I told this woman that we were collecting money for a Christian leadership group. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're a Mooney, aren't you?" So I tried Josh's way and said, "You mean that Chinese guy?" And she said, "You know what I mean." What would you have done then?
The trouble is, they always think we're lying.
But you know, Chris, it is lying.
No, it's not. There's a big difference. You can't tell the truth to people who aren't prepared to understand it.
I know you're right, but it's difficult.
Have faith, brother. The victory. Just think about the victory. The victory. We were heavenly soldiers engaged in a holy war against Satan, raising money to build the heavenly kingdom. Every Sunday morning, we would pledge our lives to Moon's mission.
As a true son, I will follow our father's pattern and charge bravely forward.
We were told to be ready to go fight in South Korea as well, in case of attack by North Korea.
This I pledge and swear. This I pledge and swear.
What's this all about?
We're having a week-long retreat in Colorado. It's $50, all expenses paid. You know, anybody can come.
Oh. What about transportation?
Oh, it's included in the package. You know, we've got a bus going up.
What kind of retreat is it?
Chris,
Organization called...
I've got some news for you. The deprogrammer's got Mike.
Where? When?
He was on MFT in Reno. Tom called into the center.
Satan!
They knew exactly where he was. They snatched him at the bus station just after a drop-off.
Well, Father will give him strength to withstand them.
Be realistic. Do you know what they do? They torture. Confinement, straitjackets, beatings, brainwashing.
I couldn't believe that Mike would go back to that other world. That he wouldn't hold on to the truth.
Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, you up so early? You guys don't let up, do you?
It's not early, Chris. It's 9:30.
Oh, come on.
It's okay to be tired. Took me a while to catch up on my sleep when I came out.
You probably had to sleep to cover up your traitor's conscience.
You don't have to be hostile.
I'm not hostile. Well, maybe I am.
Want some breakfast?
No.
Chris, your mother's concerned because you haven't eaten for 3 days.
If she were concerned, she wouldn't keep me prisoner here.
Chris, she loves you. At least grant her that.
Misguided.
She's concerned because you haven't eaten for 3 days. Is that misguided love?
I'll have breakfast.
Don't do us any favors.
It's no favor. I'm hungry.
You know, Mike, you're an all right guy. Aside from the fact that you're wrong, a pain in the neck, and a second-rate fundraiser.
Where are you going?
Nowhere. I just have to move around. You go ahead.
When most people think about brainwashing, they think about prison camps or they think about torture. But that's not what brainwashing is. It's a very subtle psychological process.
I know about brainwashing.
Well, what do you think it is?
It exists everywhere. It's on television. The Army does it in basic training. It's in schools. So what?
Chris, this is different. Look, I want to show you this book. It's called Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism.
I've heard of it.
In chapter 22, he talks about the elements that exist in an environment that is using brainwashing.
Chris, this is important. Why don't you have a seat and listen to me?
I really think you'll be amazed at the parallels you'll find. Okay, the first element is called milieu control. First of all, there's isolation, and then the group seeks to control everything that you see and you hear and you read and write, everything you experience almost. and especially everything that you think.
Remember, we were isolated in Boonville. We were never allowed any conversations with other new recruits without being supervised. We hardly ever had any time to ourselves.
The next one Lifton talks about is called the sacred science. And he says that the Chinese communists feel that their doctrine is absolutely true. You know, it's absolute truth and that it's scientifically precise. So that anyone who questions it is made to feel, you know, not only that it's immoral, but that they're being unscientific or illogical.
It was strange.
You know, when I was in the group, not at first, but after
But my mind seemed suddenly to open up.
if you ask questions,
Ideas came pouring in.
like you're being off center.
Rusty gears creaking into motion for the first time in so long.
The next thing is called mystical manipulation.
I had the first thoughts that weren't blotted out by Moon's divine principle.
That is like the group feels that it has the ultimate truth. Therefore, anything it does to anyone for the sake of that truth is ultimately moral and good.
We called it heavenly deception.
We're raising money for a Christian.
It's for a Christian youth
Call us up the Creative Community Project.
Raising funds for an orphanage.
For drug rehabilitation.
I don't have much
No, Chris, it is lying.
I began to think about what Judy and Mike had been saying.
This is a congressional report on Korean.
Were the things they had been telling me really true?
This is an excerpt from the investigation on Reverend Moon.
Was it just a front for Moon's political and financial ambitions?
Look at this.
Did Annie only care for me so I would join?
Do you think she loved you as Chris, or for what she wanted you to be?
Was it brainwashing?
And think about all the individual sharings and confessions. I mean, you confess so much about your past life that you actually feel that there was no good in it, and that it was evil, and that there is no good in the outside world. Lifton calls that technique the cult of confession.
Wow.
And the frightening end of all of this is the polarization that they set up.
Glory to heaven, peace on earth, smash Satan, smash deprogram
Chris
Satan,
Carlson.
awesome today. Glory to
Chris
heaven, peace on
Carlson.
earth,
Your brothers and sisters are here, Chris.
I'll call the
We know
police.
you're being held against your will.
Peace on earth, smash
This
Satan,
is a
smash
flagrant
deprogram
violation of
Satan,
your
awesome
rights
today.
under the First Amendment of the Constitution.
You've got to get me out of here.
Smash deprogram Satan,
I mean, I can't talk to them now.
It's okay, the police are on their way.
A member of our church is being held in this hotel against his will.
I can't believe this.
Don't worry, the police will handle it.
It's hard to face the truth.
Back off, will you?
glory to heaven, peace
Mike, what do you think I'm gonna do? Try to get through the window?
I don't know what to think.
How did they find out where we were anyway?
I mean, what kind of
Any
justice
idea?
is that when the defendant isn't even permitted to present his case?
Send them a postcard.
Glory to heaven, peace on earth, smash
Listen here, brothers and sisters, Chris.
awesome today.
We know your faith is strong enough to withstand their torment. It is better to die than yield your spiritual life to them.
Smash deprogram Satan, awesome today. Glory to heaven, peace on earth, smash Satan.
They are evil. Your parents are evil for hiring this.
Look, I'm giving you notice. These people are acting under court order. If you're not out of here in 2 minutes, you're going to be arrested and booked for violation of
Peace
court
on
order.
earth, smash Satan, smash deprogram
Chris, they're lying to you. Tom, I'm all right.
Glory to heaven,
No one's hurting me.
smash Satan.
Chris, they're controlled by Satan. If you talk with them, they'll just murder you spiritually.
I want to hear what they have to say.
Glory to heaven,
Come on, let's go.
You're breaking God's heart. Betraying the love of your brothers and sisters. They just want to drag you into their hell.
Okay, come on, let's go.
They're distorting the truth. We have the answers, Chris. We
I have
love
to find
you.
this out for myself.
Chris, please listen to us. They're lying to you.
I found out a lot of things about the Unification Church. When I was able to think clearly about these things, I wondered how I'd ever gotten involved. It was about a year later when I came back to San Francisco. This time to a job as a paralegal and a life as my own. I'm still sorting it out. How fragile the mind is. How vulnerable the heart. I think about the people who are still there, and I wish I could tell them what I know. It all comes back to me sometimes, the chants, the songs, the driven feeling of fundraising. For what? I guess I just feel used, betrayed. Hey, I'll buy one. Cindy, can't we talk sometime?
I know what you have to say.
Cindy! I was your brother! Cindy!
Looking for the delicate balance between what you feel inside and what is seen, what you show the world and what you dream it could be. Looking for the love that somehow will set you free. Taking time, searching for what you believe, and you find there those who will try to deceive. When you're on
as the deprogrammer in Moonchild. And you made the film, but you weren't actively involved in the Unification Church before. Why did you decide to use this as a dramatic vehicle?
Well, I think it's not only a very dramatic subject, but it's one that's extremely important and touches on issues that I think touch the lives of a lot of people, specifically psychological issues relating to brainwashing and the kinds of transformations that take place in people who join groups like the Unification Church. And those were the things that interested me and that I felt were dramatic and would not only interest other people, but that they should, get more information about.
Chris, in terms of the realism of the show, 45 minutes or so of drama taking apart 2 years of your life, how realistic was it?
Quite realistic. We composed the story including some things that happened to other people, but those were things that happened to actual members of the Unification Church. We perhaps adjusted a little bit here and there to give something a little more weight, such as the songs, maybe. But it was quite accurate. In fact, we were very careful to make it accurate because we wanted it to look familiar enough to people who see it so they recognize it and they know there's some danger behind it. They go up there.
Judy, you've done 200 deprogramming since you left the church itself. How accurate were those deprogramming scenes? They seemed a little short in the film, and yet sometimes they took much longer in real life.
I think the scenes were extremely accurate. They portrayed the way that I have worked with people in deprogrammings and people that I have worked with, how they've worked. The length of a deprogramming, as you said, could sometimes takes from a half an hour up to several days. And I think there's a necessity because the person involved in a cult is in such a controlled state, and to have the access of outside information so that he can make a free choice.
I just wonder why deprogramming is so necessary. It's hard, not having been in the church, to think that you couldn't really break away from something like that without somebody there in the motel room.
I can tell you my personal experience, and that is I was in the group for about 2.5 years, and I wanted to leave, and I did leave, but I had such a tremendously difficult time trying to adapt back to society. I went back to the group. Eventually, I left again and sought deprogramming. I think it's very necessary to understand, once you have been brainwashed, to understand the psychological process that happened to you in order to free yourself.
Chris, could you have left the church without deprogramming?
That's quite possible. But I do know that the deprogramming helped me to understand. It helped jostle loose all the rigidities and the very strong controls they had instilled in me. What they do is they induce the membership to fear leaving with a smile on their faces. And it actually shut down my evaluative processes just enough that I couldn't leave. I couldn't really doubt what was happening to me. And in the deprogramming, I was able to see that this is a systematic process that they orchestrated to get you to convert.
And why did you decide to use real people who were involved with the church instead of going out and hiring actors who would really know how to act.
Well, I really thought that it was a strength to be able to say this is a true story, and even, you know, more of a strength to say these are real people who have experienced this. And I was very lucky to find Chris, who had a good deal of acting experience and had the just absolutely classic story. And so he was sort of the rock, you know. But then Gary was great too. I mean, it's Gary
Sharp, who played
the lecturer. You know, as he says, he'd had 4 years of rehearsals. You know, I mean, so much of it is role playing. So at least the leaders like Gary and well, some others who had smaller roles, you know, just were able to slip right into what they had done before. And there was a tremendous amount of dedication among all the people that worked on the film, not just the ex-members, the crew and all the other actors. And the ex-members, whenever, you know, we weren't shooting in between setups, which, you know, takes forever anyway, the other members of the cast would be gathered around Chris or other ex-members, you know, hearing about what it really was like. So just, it really made a tremendous difference.
Judy, did you look on the film as an anti-Unification Church film?
I looked on it more as a educational film, that I think that because it is so authentic, that people can recognize the experience. If a young person is walking down the street and they're approached by someone, they kind of begin to experience this indoctrination, they can recognize it. I think, you know, I look at it that way.
This is the important thing that I think we all want to point out, that these groups, the Moonies in particular for this film, look very good at first. Intelligent, well-meaning people aren't drawn to these things because they're offering you an escape from reality. They offer you powerful commitment and purpose. And then things start getting twisted. But you're not going to see the twistedness right away, generally.
I just would like to bring just something about the integrity of the members. Number one, Reverend Moon was indicted for tax fraud. So this is a convicted of tax fraud. So you see an example of deception from the very top. And I think that I do not live my life opposing the group. I'm concerned about the suffering and the pain and the anguish of the people who were involved with it. And that's my concern.
If there is one lesson, moral, whatever, that you would like the viewers of that film to get out of it, and when you made it, what was that?
A little healthy skepticism, maybe. You know, if a young person meets someone on Fisherman's Wharf who acts as if they're your best friend after 5 minutes, you know, to think beyond the moment and question, you know, what might the hidden agenda be.
You agree with that,
you know,
Chris? Is that...
exercise your critical thinking.
I think trust is crucial in the world. I mean, we can't live our lives without it, but we must be cautious in offering it, I think is the main message.
And I think that it's important to understand that, you know, you are vulnerable, and to recognize your own mental limitations when you're put in a situation like that, and to question authority, and to feel that, you know, you have integrity as a person, you can question.
And making the film, it was wonderful because we could always question Anne. The ultimate authority on set.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank the three of you for sharing your experiences with us today. Those experiences were obviously very personal and very powerful, but they are relevant for all of us because, as Moonchild showed, Reverend Moon and his Unification Church reaches out to a wide group of young people, mostly college-educated and sophisticated. The experiences Chris Carlson had easily could have happened to people we know and love. I'm Spencer Michaels. Good night.